In the era of superhero film fatigue, I was shocked to be as entertained as I was leaving the movie theater. That's not to say that the Flash movie wasn't problematic as hell, because it was. The Flash has been out for a week or so now. Oh, and by the way, expect spoilers in this review. And if you could, I would appreciate it if you took this moment to share, like, and subscribe to my channel. For starters, the problematic areas I'm alluding to is pretty much everything that happens in the first hour. We have two Ezra Millers playing present-day and past versions of Barry Allen. Present-day Barry Allen is a slightly lighter iteration of Zack Snyder's Flash, and the past version of Barry Allen is an even more annoying iteration of Joss Whedon's Flash. Then we have the very jarring low-budget special effects, and I can't believe I'm saying low budget considering that this movie is rumored to have a budget in excess of $300 million. And yes, I'm aware that the director, Andy Muschietti, is on record saying that the special effects look the way they do on purpose, which I don't buy for a single second, especially if you do some Googling on Warner Brothers Discovery's current financial situation. It's reported that they have a debt of $46 billion. It's safe to assume that Warner Brothers simply put all of their money into the reshoots and marketing of the film and then cut corners on the CGI. I mean, if they had released this movie on, say, HBO Max, the CGI probably would have been way more acceptable, but still on par with the likes of, say, the Scorpion King's CGI from The Mummy Returns. The first hour is also full of slapstick, comedic situations, which some scenes were genuinely funny and other moments just fell flat. My son laughed at all the scenes that, a 5-year-old would laugh at. But speaking of my 5-year-old, this brings me to another issue I had. I felt that there were too many scenes in which Ezra Miller ends up naked on screen, which one of those scenes actually presented his bare ass to the camera. It's one thing if I see something like that in a Zack Snyder comic book movie, because his movies have always pushed towards adult subject matter and tense situations. But I wasn't expecting it here, especially with the number of scenes that it occurs in. If they would have cut out the scene of Barry Allen's ass, I think I would have been fine with the rest. I just felt like there wasn't any reason to leave that shot in the film, especially considering how they advertised this movie. I would have cut that scene out just for the intended audience. Okay, so on to the things about this film that I thoroughly enjoyed. Mainly everything after the first hour of the film. Specifically all the Batmans. Batmen?
Anyways,
I was very happy to see Ben Affleck get a respectable send-off in this film, sandwiched in between the Flash saving awfully rendered CGI babies. Batman's action scene is very much in line with the kind of action we saw in BVS, except you see he's clearly pulling his punches and isn't murdering the criminals that he's tracking down. He's a more traditional Cape Crusader in the sense that he is actively concerned for the safety of the criminals and innocent bystanders. With that being said, he lays the smackdown hard on these guys. Wonder Woman has a cameo to help bookend Ben Affleck's run as Batman, which added a great moment of levity to the scene. And of course, the main reason I purchased the ticket to see this film, and that's to see Michael Keaton play Batman 89 one last time. He was everything I hoped for. The one thing that would have made it better is if he was in the movie sooner. Andy Muschietti gave us a dope Arkham Asylum style action scene with Keaton that wasn't possible back in the day. I'm so looking forward to rewatching that scene many times when it comes out on Blu-ray. Here's a little random fact. I named my son Clark after Superman, and he turns out to be the world's biggest Flash and Batman fan. So as a bonus for me, being a lifelong fan of Batman 89, and more importantly as a father, having seen the first two original Batman films, my son's face lit up when he saw OG Batman pop on screen alongside the Batmobile, the Batcave, the Batwing. And then you add the fact that he's about the same age I was when my mom took me to go watch Batman back in 1989, that alone was worth the price of admission for me. Anyway, I digress. But speaking of Superman, one of the shocking things for me in this film was Sasha Calle as Supergirl. I walked into this movie thinking they were going to give her the typical girl boss savior role treatment in this film, and to my surprise, they didn't.
You suck!
She did a great job in the role, and in my opinion, was a more welcome presence on screen than The Flash. Either of them. Another great thing that Supergirl and Batman demonstrated in this movie's timeline is that it solidified Man of Steel's Superman as the only metahuman that could bring down Zod. And as a Snyderverse fan, that's pretty damn cool. The cameos were good, fun even. They of course suffered from the aforementioned terrible CGI. They were way too many cameos on screen to clearly see and remember them all, so I'll probably put together a video of all the cameos in The Flash once it's released on digital, which by looking at the box office performance should be sometime in late July or August. Ezra Miller has a few moments specifically revolving around the emotional situation with his parents that were legitimately good. I would even say those scenes were strong, but they were far too few and completely thrown off by the later silliness of both versions of Barry Allen. I can only imagine how much better this movie could have been if given better executives, a committed writer and director, a stable production company, and say what you will about his work, if Zack Snyder's plans for these characters were never derailed in the first place, I think we would have been looking at a much more memorable piece of cinema than the one we were left with. It would have been at the very least on the same level as No Way Home, which this film is not. All in all, The Flash is silly, messy, rough, but somehow manages to have fun and deliver enough good moments that leave you entertained. I doubt that Ezra Miller will continue as The Flash after this, and truth be told, I really don't want him to either. They seriously need to recast him soon. So that leaves the DC Extended Universe with only one cinematic round left in its chamber, and that's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Unlike what happened with the Fury of the Gods, I think the best we can hope for is that Aquaman 2 ends up being better than the first one. So what sayeth you? Do you agree or disagree with my take on The Flash? Please comment below. Thank you for watching my video. I would be truly humbled if you liked, shared, and subscribed. See you next time.